Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 366. Today is Saturday, April 24th, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. It's 6 o'clock. I'm having second coffee. I should have drank all my coffee before going on the epic bike ride. Because I was filled with regret that I did not have all of my coffee. But it'll be okay. I think it was more the case where the bike ride just took longer than I thought it would. But the Dear Sweet Lovable one was super duper keen on taking our new to us Tandem out on a ride. And so we biked all the way to the Presidio, and then we biked across the Golden Gate Bridge, and then we biked up and down some pretty gnarly hills, and then eventually made our way back home. But as usual, the worst hill is the hill into the neighborhood. So we have concluded that we're very happy with this new Tandem, and that it may be the case where some podcasts will be recorded at a slightly later time, such as this, in which there will be no crafting. It's not too bad. I'm definitely some sort of congested right now too as well, so hopefully nothing big, but hey, who knows. But I suppose it has, in fact, been a productive week this week, because I do have a finished object to share today. And definitely the case where it was a lickety-split sort of FO, considering it was 1,200 yards, but I had 53 inches remaining. But this is the Aggregate, which is a Jimmy Knits pattern that I knit out of my own hand spun. So the gold is camel silk from Your Daily Fiber, and the variegated skein is Greenwood Fiberworks in the Arcade colorway, and it is a yak silk blend. And they were really meant to be together. I've worn this shawl a couple of times in the last few days, and it's been super duper pleasant. But I did finally get to the bind off. Things happened, and it'd be the case where one end is just the gold all by itself, but I got 3/4 of the way through holding the variegated and gold together in a pearl, in a doubled pearl bind off, because I figured that was going to be the one that would give it a good edge while not using a horrifying amount of yarn, which worked out just fine. Probably better than the knit two together bind off there, more than likely. So we've got our various sides. Maybe I shouldn't have worn a shawl. I don't know. I feel the need to be like at least a little bit cozy. In terms of length, we've got plenty. So wingspan well wrapped around my neck, which I think is a very, very nice shawl length indeed. And you can I think you can sort of see how the bind off may be like a smidge tight, but honestly, I don't know what I would need to do differently to change that. So when I blog, it won't be a super crisp point here, but it should be sufficient. And I definitely love this dark rainbow end of the shawl. And it's super warm and kitteny soft. And it was exactly the knitting that I needed. But, I don't know. Like, there's probably not too much showcase on the gold, the gold side, but there's all sorts of subtle delights going on the, would it be on the variegated side. But yeah, the only, or would it be, like, I probably would have reversed the colors on this because the really long down and back rows for this one I think would have been better done as gold. And that's just the thing about the pattern was that, what would it be, on one side you knit across and then you do your short rows for a while, and then when you're done short rowing you go back to the start. And I probably should have had the gold be that color instead of whatever, the variegated, because with what's currently the gold side, you do one big down and back, and then you do short rows for a while, and then you end at the beginning. So you have a little bit more color continuity there, but that's like a quibble. And that was my own choice. They did mention that the yarn usage would be a little bit higher for the second color. So it was probably justified in doing it that way. And so the pattern itself is written for DK. So I ended up making like a few modifications to make it work really nicely for fingering, or light fingering as the case may be. So it was the case where I ended up keeping the wedges the same side throughout because I sort of didn't want to have ever growing yarn usage as I went along, and I think that ended up working out really nicely. I ended up getting about 5 repeats of the pattern, whereas the pattern calls for about 2-ish in the DK weight yarn, so this makes sense. I had way more yardage, so it took a lot more to get it done. Totally needed the garter knitting. You would think I would need something more engaging, but apparently not right now. So it was just a ton of fun. I could see myself knitting this again. Maybe not for my own purposes, like, what would be, even though this isn't my color, but I'm keeping it because these are kidney soft, beautiful yarns, so they're mine for sure. And I guess, as you can tell, I didn't end up finishing it for Stash Dash in the end. I haven't had a chance to watch the Knit Girl's latest podcast to find out where they're pointing right now. I hope they do it on Discord or Slack. It'll involve installing Slack on this computer, but that's not the end of the world. So, not too crazy there. Oh boy. I'm not planning on vlogging it until it's convenient to do so. It's a garter shawl. It doesn't really need a whole lot of anything anyways, so it'll just get thrown into the rotation and it'll be wonderful. I'm tired. Lots of effort was exerted today. I am acutely aware of my legs. And today I am drinking my Island Blend coffee from the Island Coffee Roasters in Richardson, Texas, because they are the best I've ever had. And after trying all sorts of various San Francisco brands, it's not that I'm not going to buy them, but oh boy, is it delightful to have coffee from Island. It is so good. So that's the story there. Aggregate, Jimmy Knits, super happy. I still need to post this in the Fluff to Stuff thread, but I am really proud that I got some 2015 and 2017 hand spun knit up, and definitely some Mondo yardage ones. And part of, or would it be, and like the thought process there is Um, as it stands right now, I have these really lovely but very fine yarns in my handspun stash, and so what they need is whatever, a lot more knitting time and attention than I'm willing to give them quite yet. But I am starting to sort of settle on, or would be to sort of think about how to approach some of these more intimidating yarns. Would be the case for would be like I have a couple of ideas for things, but I haven't like super pinned it down. But I'm thinking actually that is it like Kieran Foley? I have what would it be? I think it's called Drops. I don't know. But I have this mostly black yarn. I believe it was black alpaca and silk. And I think that would end up being super duper gorgeous in that pattern. And then it'd be the case where I also have my cashmere from 2010. Though I still need to figure out beads for that, so that might wait. As you do. But what I did decide to do was take a brief break from all handspun all the time and cast on the What the Fade, which is an Andrea Mowry pattern. I'm already sort of thinking about what I would like to do when I'm done with the brioche section, because when she's done with the brioche section, I'm not. But you can definitely see the fade going on. Now, the only problem is that my light blue is showing up super pale, and it is not that pale. Or would it be? It's definitely a hue, and that hue is blue. But this is going to end up being pretty rainbow-tastic if rainbow-tastic is having half your colors be blue. But what I did was I paired Ice Skating Party with Firecracker, and these are standard or stranded dyeworks colorways. And then I believe that this is Naive Watercolor with Orange Tabby. And then I have Blue Rinse and Patisserie. And what would it be? So it'd be the case where I have like this Ice Skating Party is fairly true blue. The Naive Watercolor is sort of on the greeny end of blue with bits of purple in it too. And then Blue Rinse is a blurple, combined with the red, orangey yellow, and sort of this very pale brown, I don't know, with like brown speckles. And so once I sort of get into a proper rainbow order fade, it'll go light brown, orange, red, purple, grainy blue, regular blue, which isn't perfect, but the light blue will then go back into the lighter color. So it's more like a value fade than anything else, but it's turning out really pretty. I'll bring it a little closer so you guys can see. And I did a pretty juicy fade section on this, and I am actually really, really liking the not blue side as well, which is cool. So it just has like that little peak of color coming out of it, and like I've gotten like pretty decent progress on this. Like obviously this is still in small shawl stage, but the 6 skeins of 400-yard merino singles, who knows? Let's just say it cleared out quite a bit of room in the stash shelf, which is exciting to me. And it was the case where this is fairly easy knitting. I have a harder time with the final decrease. I have no problems with the center and first decrease. No, whatever. But I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I really like the Naive Watercolor and how it's working in the pattern, because there's all sorts of subtle variations in it. It's nice. It's nice. And then what I'm going to end up doing is continuing the brioche, but then working in a fade. And I'll figure out what that means exactly once I'm further along. So it'd be the case of like how it is that I'm going to switch it in appropriately. This may be the case where a swatch would be smart, but whatever, we'll make it work. So should be good. So I'll be going just a little bit rogue. Would it be for some reason? Would it be? It'd be the case where you end up paying for it to a certain extent, like, oh, I hadn't thought of that before, and yes, that is a good idea. And maybe if I had like sat down and thought about it long enough, it would have been fine. But and then the other thing was like looking at a lot of projects and figuring out what's going on, and what I sort of liked about them. So I think mine's gonna be fairly gorgeous at the end of the day. So there is that. And then I'll do the I-cord bind off as indicated when the time comes. So not too crazy. And obviously it's gotten a pretty decent amount of love this week because there wasn't much left to do on this shawl. I think I even took out the marker that I had in here. Would it be? I was very, very close to the edge when I podcasted. I believe I finished it Saturday night, no problem. Easily. So, not too crazy there. Maybe I'll wait to show all the balls of yarn later. Whatever. There'll be a next time, or would it be? Like, it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, when a podcast will be like, oh, I'll just show that in the next episode, and then, like, a month will pass, and you don't get to see. But, like, I'm weekly. It's fine. This project will be lasting me for quite some time. I will not be finishing it in a month. It does look actually pretty hopeful that everything that I have now, or would it be? I won't have a finished object even if I tried hard. Before the beginning of Stash Dash, and that's fine. So here is what I have so far on the sweater. So if we look here at my amount of progress, I didn't even do a row on the body this week. All of the work on this has been on the sleeve. So this one is still on the holder. I'll be getting to it pretty soon. Sat down and had to redo the sleeve decrease calculations for a couple of reasons. One of them was that since my stitch gauge was different, and probably my row gauge too, in order to get to the right count down here, I needed to have a slightly different rate of decreases. And then for some crazy reason, like I over decreased. I don't know what happened, but whatever. So I had to rip back a little bit and fudge it a little bit, but I am well into the tree pattern, which obviously I have to be at least slightly mindful of what I'm doing here, because the 9-inch circular is still pretty cozy. But whatever. I'm trying to be very careful about spreading the stitches while I'm doing the color work, because that was a warning in the pattern, was that you wanted, that there was a distinct danger of having issues with that. And the first pass that I tried, I was knitting the sleeve inside out, but then I gave up. Then I said no. And then my ball of yarn is big enough that there really wasn't any way of like passing it through because it's still attached to the body after all. So I am preparing for the 3rd level of tree now. But I'll try to bring you in reasonably close without dipping into the coffee. So fairly subtle, not too crazy. We're sort of in like an orangey, a reddy orangey sort of place with like little blips of white. I'm guessing it'll probably be fine. I don't know. I'll have to decide which way I end up pulling from. It's probably going to be pretty equivalent whichever end I pull from. We're going into like a pretty long run of sort of, you can sort of see the average color on the ball, where it's sort of like what happens when you mix ketchup and mustard together. So that's what's going on. And the inside of this just has a little bit more purple. Excuse me. So I'll figure out which way I end up going. I don't think it matters either way, to be quite frank. So I have hollowed out the center of the ball a little bit. I have my 00 Xiaogu red circular ready for trying it on. Probably need to be wearing a different t-shirt if I want to try it on today, but you can see all of the gorgeous color from way back here. So definitely, what would it be? You know me, boo. So, and you can sort of see a slightly different bullseye going on here. I'm going to have plenty of leftovers. I'll probably end up binding off in this color, just to use like a little bit more. But yeah, no, so it's coming together pretty nicely. Got most of the sleeve done. Now it's just a lot of the fun festive part of continuing on knitting. And I will knock out the other sleeve before resuming the body, just so that, what would it be? So you're not wrangling a whole sweater around with you. It'll just be straight on till morning on the sweater. So, soon, or what would it be? So, a little bit of excitement with decreases for a while. Whole nother sleeve to go. Some fun with the color work chart, at least for a little bit longer. It's like slightly abbreviated from the main yoke chart, because that would have covered an awful lot of arm. I would have needed to start if I had used the yoke chart. That would have been full forearm color work. So I'm keeping that in my Amy Beth National Parks bag, which is apparently in another bag. So, ta-da. Not too crazy there. I should probably put my Don Catherine Studios bag back in the thing. And then I have a different Don Catherine Studios and Sal and Cal bag here. So I figured the San Francisco bag was the perfect one for a ridiculous 6-skein shawl project. And it's true. It is perfect. So that is all of the knitting content. There was some spinning this week. Still have a bit more to go, but like I definitely depleted this fall. So I have 2 more ounces sitting in a bin across the room. Not like this room's big, but I'm not getting up. So this is a carded sliver that I created as a layered mat and pulled off my drum carder. It is a dark green, a lime green, and white. It's 50% white. And the white is Florida Cracker, and the 2 shades of green are probably Merino. It's the fake Romney. And I moved the spinning wheel over here. You can, I dropped the band. Oopsies. That's like a little bit oversaturated right now, but whatever. So, what would it be? There is a decent amount of yellow in this too, because when I ended up doing the break, there was a little bit more of the yellowy orange here. So I am I think what I'm going to end up doing, I still haven't gotten, or what it be, I haven't finished the singles cut, so I'm not going to have the live, oh, come on you. So, because I haven't finished the singles, I haven't had sort of the live plying thing for whatever, the YouTube live for plying, but that is coming. I'll probably sample on my spindle and go from there, because I can just pull lengths from my original fiber in order to do that. What's going on? We'll just make visual appearance clear. For some reason I haven't been too much in a spinning mood, but we'll find out if I'm capable of spinning. After all of that bike riding, I think it'll probably be okay. It'll probably be okay. So that is the story there. So I'm not quite halfway done with this second half. Not close. There's some podcasts to watch. There's Thai food on the way. I'll have an easy day. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain, so whatever. We'll stay cozy at home and have roast chicken, and it'll be fine. But yeah, so that's where things are at right now. It's would it be? Got a new exciting project. Got the gorgeous fluffy stuff going on. Probably, I don't know, we'll figure out how things end up breaking in terms of if I end up getting through the singles on this project. I've been going sort of slow. Haven't been in super big rush. Or if it'll be the case where I just load up the bobbins with singles for the time being. It's also a possibility. What I was actually pondering, and maybe I actually need to get to a different place, so one thing that I would like to do for Stash Dash is fix my mohair silk, merino cashmere silk, super luxurious V-neck boxy. I did the wrong type of short row, so this is going to be a slightly painful process that I should probably take care of early, which is ripping it back to the point where it needs to be, marking pretty clearly where I want my short rows to start, because what I'll end up doing is what I did for the sweater was I started at the 50% point and did past short rows, or knitting to, or whatever, knitting past the previous short row, and what I'm going to do instead is start at the more than 50% mark and then knit to, and then end up doing the shorter and shorter short rows on it. I think that'll end up looking a lot better in the end. Because it ended up sort of having like a certain distorted baggy look to it. It's super cozy. It's very luxurious. But I'm not wearing it a lot, and I think part of that has to do with its slightly awkward dismount. So, wish me luck, guys. It's really nice mohair silk, so maybe it's not going to be an unholy terror to fix. But I probably want to get it into a good place. It's not like it's gonna run like a bad pair of nylons. But that's sort of where my head is at right now, is I just need to take the plunge very clearly with like locking both stitch markers, go to where I want to be on it, and implement those changes, because like I'm much more likely to wear it once that's done. And then it'll be a matter of figuring out if there are other repairs that I want to do on things, or modifications, or that sort of thing. That's the major one. I pulled it aside to do it last year, but I just spun. 2020 was definitely the year for spinning. So it may be the case where my next project is taking the Dorset horn and the Leicester long wool and combining that into vascular spinning. And so I'll probably end up doing the same sliver thing, but the fiber itself, or what it be, the fiber is not nearly as variegated. So it may be the case where I end up making a finer bat of it, maybe, I don't know. And that will finally be a chance to test out whether or not my my multi-diz actually works. It's been a long time. See, we ended up putting together the multi-diz a while ago. So we still haven't tried it yet. So I think it's the case where I don't even know what sizes and stuff. I have to pull the spreadsheet up and figure out where it goes. But it should be like from 3 ounces to 1/3 of the ounce. I just don't remember which ones, and I need probably to mark it on a metallic Sharpie. I don't think I feel so keen as to, I don't know, I guess I could. Maybe, I don't know. An option would be to use it sort of as a way of testing out whether or not it was just straight up a area scaling in terms of area to ounces in order to get it to come off the drum carder nice. Who knows? So that's the story there. It shouldn't be too crazy. So yeah, so I don't know if what that means is that my next sweater will be fixing an old sweater, and then we'll resume regularly scheduled pondering what the next sweater is going to be. Because I have decided, since I did get a decision on what the next shawl is going to be, so should be good. So a little bit shorter episode this week. What it be next weekend is my second shot, so that'll be really exciting. Would it be? I have lovely knitterly plans on Saturday and Sunday, which should be lovely. Indeed. Well, just be interesting to see how things end up changing, but knitterly plans shouldn't interfere with regular podcast schedule. It just probably means I'll record early on Saturday, which may hurt a little bit, but hopefully I'll be responsible and go to bed early. It's hard to tell. What it be? Really, there really wasn't too much watching and consuming this week, so whatever. So that's the story there. Should be good. And we'll continue on. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.